Ease on up this way, we're going to get started. My name is Pam Morris. I work for the Portsdown Waterfowl Museum here at the end of the road in Harpers Island. And we want to welcome you to the first in a series of community nights that we're having in conjunction with our brand new exhibition for 6 weeks, Smithsonian Hometown Teens Exhibition. It will be open through September the 7th. And it is about celebrating sports in America and the meaning and the impacts of sports in America. We also have a local component to the exhibition, which were brought by community members of different sports. Also, East Carteret High School played a big part in this exhibition. But before we really get started, I want to make a few announcements. One was, again, this exhibition will be open through the 7th of September. It covers several topics, not all sports. We selected 6. One is baseball / research that Joe Boy Willis has been doing over the past 10 or 15 years. We have softball as a topic. We have basketball, soccer, band, and surfing. So we have some information about all these topics, throughout the exhibition. We've also launched a sports-based website, CarteretCountySports.org, and we have all of the information, all of Joe's information, all of the information that's been submitted throughout the past 5 months, and it was launched a couple of weeks ago, so I encourage you to check that out. You can do so obviously at any time in your home, and also the big monitor over here on my right is connected to that website, and you can just browse around and see a sampling of what's on there because it really is incredible. We have an awesome webmaster, Shannon Adams, from Moorhead, a Promised Lander, who's given many, many hours of his time in the development of this website. Also, we have a very fun and exciting trip planned to see a Durham Bulls game. That's happening on August the 22nd. It's $60 a person to go, and we'll also not only be going to a Bulls game, we'll be visiting the North Carolina Baseball Museum in Wilson. I don't know if any of you have been there. I have not been there yet, but it's located near Fleming Stadium in Wilson, and we will be eating at the world-famous Dick's Hot Dog Stand there, which should be a lot of fun. And the game has fireworks at the end, and we'll have time to eat in the American Tobacco District right there. It has a lot of good restaurants, and should be a lot of fun. And Rodney Kent will be our host during that bus trip and telling his stories and all that. About Rodney, he's not here tonight because he's on a mission trip in Costa Rica, and Joe Boy Willis was actually supposed to be doing this job, of which I'm a poor substitute, but he has a sick dog. If you know Joe very well, you know that he has champion Australian Shepherd dogs, and one of his main dogs is not well, and he's at the University of Georgia Vet School tending to the dog. So anyway, but we miss him very much. And also, we are launching in conjunction with this exhibition a Carteret County Sports Hall of Fame. It's over here to my left. You can vote on the candidate you think should be the straight-in bid. They'll have somebody who goes, whoever's the highest vote getter is an automatic bid into the Hall of Fame. And the ballots are over here, and a little bit about the people are on the wall. There's a very strong slate of candidates there, so I hope you will go over there and check that out and vote. And
on that note, I was just talking to Gary. This year was just a start. There are dozens of people who need to be nominated, so we will be doing this every year, and I hope whoever it is you're looking for that may not be there, that you'll go ahead and get started on getting their nomination together. It takes a bio, a picture, and 2 letters of support. So
somebody has to do the nomination. The committee filters the nominations, of which none of us in this room are on the committee, but there is a committee, they do filter the nominations, and somebody does have to do the nominating. So that's something to remember. And the last announcement is that we have some Marlins tickets available for you tonight. Karen has them over there if you'd like to attend the game. It's Saturday night at 7:05. If it does get rained out, we don't know if it'll be rescheduled because it's very close to the end of the season, but we'll let you know. So please pick up some Marlins tickets. We want to use them all. So, and we have plenty over there that Karen has.
37, we have 37 tickets. So if you know a kid who would like to go, that would be great too. So.
On a table over here to my left, on the royal blue tablecloth over there by Billy, and that exit door, there are some cards like these over there for you to take home. It has the schedule of the rest of these sports-related community nights, if you will, located over there by Billy. There's also handouts about the Durham Bulls trip over there, so please take this home with you. Now, getting down to the little program we're going to have, well, I guess I could start this off by saying that not that this is about me, but my interest in it is I'm a big sports fan, particularly in baseball and college basketball. And when I was in the 6th grade in 1974, back in the day, I and my friend, my dear friend Sonia, discovered a baseball team playing baseball in Smyrna, across from Smyrna School where we lived. And so we took up, aggravating youngins that we were, and going to all these baseball practices, and they put up with us and let us, run down fly balls and all that kind of stuff. And we just grew to love these people, and they were our idols when we were growing up during the years that they played. And that was a team called Eastern Blues. Randy, who's one of our panelists, was on that team. And that team really had a humongous impact on my life as I've gotten older. I think about it more today than I did back then. And I believe that many people feel the same way about sports and different teams that they played on, or that they were fans of, or different things like that. And it just has an impact that's, well, immeasurable on my life. It's had an impact on almost everything that I do. There are people that played on that team that I think about every day. Even now, I think about them every day. So in that light, I was going to read, as we get started, an excerpt off of the website that was written by Joe Boyd. Since he can't be here with us, I have my poor substitute what to say, but I wanted to read a little bit off of this thing that Joe Boyd wrote about Wilson Davis, who's a nominee for the Hall of Fame. And it was just, I just ran across it, and it was just so good. I was like, if Joe can't be with us, I'm going to read a few of his words just to give the, feeling and the impacts that sports has on us all. This is loosely called, these are the fundamental truths that apply to whatever sport that you're playing, or that you have played, or you've been a part of. It's the fundamentals of baseball and lessons in life. My relationship and friendship with Wilson started about 1958 when he was my Pony League baseball coach. I was a young boy eager for direction and described by some as being poor and without a lot of financial means. However, Wilson saw a young man that was hardworking with a strong desire to learn and win. I redefined my abilities of playing the game of baseball from Wilson. I improved and learned the finer points of basic skills of hitting, running, fielding, catching, throwing, and thinking. And most of all, I learned the never say die attitude from Wilson. He was the type of man that if he didn't have the physical skills, Then he would use his knowledge of the game to outthink his competitors and would use his drive and never say die attitude to win. He showed extraordinary leadership skills by creating an environment for each member of his team to be successful, and an environment that was fun to play and learn. He was an exceptional leader. That baseball training served me well. It aided me in getting an athletic grant to go to college and helped me throughout my playing days in high school, college, and with the Eastern Blues of the Seashore League. As in the case for any young boy, the lessons that I learned and needed to learn during that particular time in my life was the meaning of life is not merely the state of things as they are, but the vision of what they might be. This important lesson was taught to me by my Pony League baseball coach. Wilson thought he was teaching the finer points of baseball, and he was. However, for me, he taught that what you envision being often enough is tomorrow's reality. I learned there are broad rivers to cross, and things will get hard and tough, but if you have friends and team members that will back you up, and they will catch you if you fall. There was one game in particular that I remember that displays the never say die attitude and brings out the true meaning of Yogi Berra's saying, "It ain't over till it's over." As background, it was summertime and I was working with my uncle to earn money by catching clams. In those days, we used our feet to stalk the clams and our hands to dig them up. We had been clamming since 6:30 a.m. that day, and we filled the skiff about 4 p.m. and headed back to Alton Willis's fish house to unload our catch. I was in a big hurry since we had a baseball game that night. I had been waiting all week for that game. My uncle's boat was just puttering along. It seemed like it would take forever to get to the dock. But I finally made it home, changed clothes, and walked about 4 miles from the middle of the island to Straits to Doug Dameron's house. His dad, Danny, drove us to Beaufort for a 7 p.m. game with Newport. The game started, and by the 3rd inning, we were trailing 12-2. Even though we had a loyal following, most of the spectators were from Newport, and they were booing us non-stop. However, no fights had broken out yet. And if you know Joe Boy, that was hard to do, because, anyway, he did get the fight. So, but it was getting intense. Since I was the catcher and closer to the spectators, maybe I was a little more sensitive to the comments. It was looking bad at that moment in time. That's when the Newport coach called time out to talk to the umpire and Coach Wilson about calling the game, especially since it was getting late and the score was somewhat out of control. Mad also about the abuse we had been taking all night, Wilson turned to me and asked if I wanted to quit. I knew what he was thinking, that I would never quit. And I said, no, we do not have anywhere to go. And that, I believe, the game is getting ready to turn in my favor. These boys look tired. Wilson turned to the umpire and said, "Mr. Ump, we want to continue playing. We think that we have them right where we want them. The rest is history." Although we had some major hurdles to cross that night to get to victory, there was one thing that I have always remembered. In the 7th inning, I got a hit, knocking in a run or two. But the front part of the sole of my right shoe came off. And through the embarrassment, Wilson taped my shoe up with some medical tape while I was still sitting on first base back. Elmer Dewey Willis, the next day, bought me a brand new pair of spikes. From that point forward, Mr. Willis was a hero to Wilson and certainly to me. We went on to beat Newport 15-14 in 7 innings. That game ended after midnight, but the lesson I learned I have never forgotten. You can't quit when it gets tough. That's when the work just begins. Another lesson learned was that if someone has faith in you, that you will gain strength to always do the best you can. On the other side of doubt is faith. On the other side of pain lies strength. I am thankful for the person and those lessons that I learned growing up, and how those lessons touched my life at the right time, making a huge difference. What great lessons to learn, and from what a great communicator. I mean, that is just some powerful stuff right there. And the last thing I'm going to read from Joe Boyd, and you can look this up on the website. It's the lasting impacts that this team, the Eastern Blues, that mean a lot to me and a lot of other people. These are some of the lasting impacts that team had. Originally, we had 3 goals, and he's talking about we being he and Wilson. Had 3 goals for creating the Eastern Blues, and under Wilson, we exceeded our wildest expectations. We not only got to relive our field of dreams and regain the spirit and interest in sports that was in the county had in the old Tidewater baseball days, but also Eastern Park was established, a place for our children to play. Wilson and Crawford had been looking for land, and it was Alton Paul and Kenny Lewis who mentioned the land in Smyrna was for sale. It was through Crawford and Wilson's hard work with the County Parks and Recreation, Neil Lewis, to convince the county to buy the land. And it was Wilson, Crawford, the Eastern Blues team members, Alton Paul, Oz Davis, who designed the field, James Paul Lewis fielding the ditches with his front end loader, and others who helped do most of the manual labor in creating the field and paid for the dugouts and chain link fixing. For Wilson and the Blues baseball team members, the greatest joy of all was on Saturday afternoon in 1976, seeing our children and your children playing a girls' softball game, a Little League game, and a Babe Ruth game being played all at the same time. We had reached our goal. On the other side of doubt is faith. On the other side of faith lies strength. So that's it. I did want to bring that in about Joe because he really for many years has done an incredible amount of research. It's mind-boggling how many hours he's got in it, and really just has a great love for the people here and for the people we play ball with. So that being said, we're going to get to our reluctant panelists over here, but I know they're going to be awesome. So what we're going to do, if you'll just hold the mic up, I'll stay down here, and if we need to pass it around, or if you need me to, I will. And I'll just ask a few questions, and we'll just answer a few questions, and that's it. So we're going to start off with years prior to 1970. Now, like I say, in 1974, there may have been in Moorhead and Beaufort, but down east didn't have softball at all. And I don't know that they had Little League. I don't know. I have no idea. I was in 6th grade. I know shortly thereafter we started playing, but it was not there before then. And I don't really remember much about organized ball before the Eastern Blues. Not that it wasn't there, I don't remember it. First time I played ball was roll the bat in my yard with my mom, who really was the one who taught me all there is to know about playing ball. And she was a good ball player too. So we'll give it to Gary, and just, if you would, what opportunities were there before 1970, really 1974? What opportunities were there to play ball, and how did you do it?
Well, since this program is entitled Old Timers, I guess I fit that. I sat here thinking, I'm going to go way back. Davis, way back, all communities had baseball teams. Baseball was a big deal, especially from Beaufort East. The baseball field in Davis, when you go stop at the stop sign, look right across over there, the brick house, used to be Becky's. That's where the baseball field was when we were growing up, and I was growing up. They had bleachers. I mean, it was something under the pecan trees. And my best friend growing up at that time was Chuck Lewis. Still is today. Always loved that boy, man. My first memory Chuck and I together. Chuck's uncle was Robert Davis. Robert was the captain on the McAllister, the tug that sank and lost his life in the crew. Well, Chuck lived with his father Virginia, which was his grandmother, until the 2nd grade. And the uncle, his mother, remarried, married David Hill, and they moved to Beaufort. One of the saddest days of my life when Chuck said, I got to go to Beaufort and stay. Well, Robert was manager of the team there at Davis, and this guy Virginia had a barn over there. JC remembers all this stuff. And one day, we were about 5 or 6 years old. Chuck and I, he had a canvas bag, and it full of bats and balls and gloves and stuff. We took that bag, drug it out in the yard, and was messing with it. And his Uncle Robert came home, and he was a big man. I mean, big. He said, well, sweet old Bob's, I bought a big guitar out of you. I've never been so scared in all my life. And I was scared of Robert Rydell till he passed away. That was my beginning memory of baseball, and that's one thing I'll never forget. One thing incidental about Robert had about that end, one of his fingers missing. And when he was a kid, Leroy Hill told me this. He and Robert were playing, and Leroy had a hatchet, and Robert would stick his finger out and say, "You can't hit it." Kept on, and first thing you know, Leroy cut the other finger on the hatchet. I thought that was the funniest thing. Wait a minute. Right on through the years, like I say, baseball especially was a big deal in all the communities. Alton Paul, bless his heart. We had a team in Davis, Braxton Lee, myself, and Leonard Carroll Hill. It's enough to have a baseball team. And Alton was our coach. And he would load us, about 8 or 9, 10 of us, every how many we could round up, and take us around to Harkers Island, Straits, Stacy, anybody that had a team and play. Alton Paul was really special, almost, well, as much as Chuck is today. Because he really put out. He loved baseball, he loved us, he loved what he was doing. One year in the spring, we decided we wanted uniforms. So everybody gathered enough money, I don't know what they were, but a whole lot of money. We bought us uniforms. And those things, nobody could wear them because they itchy to death. I'll never forget I don't know what happened to mine, but boy, that thing was itchy. I was telling Robert some of them. When Osborne was going to state, Grady Davis, Grady George, his daddy had an automobile. And Osborne had got some of us some tickets to go to a ball game at Dale's Coliseum. This was about 1956, 7, 8, somewhere in that neighborhood. And on Saturday, to get automobile about 5 or 6 hours and carry us to Raleigh. Had a ball game that night. Now let me tell you something. You take a bunch of Davy Shore youngsters to Raleigh and put them in Dale's Coliseum, Reynolds-Dale Coliseum. Now, buddy, we thought we were something. And Osborne had made arrangements with some of the guys in the dormitory to let us stay in their rooms at night because it was a night game. And we spent the night there. I'll never forget that. I'll tell you something. Now, we thought we were something to do that. And right on down through the years, sports has always been a big deal. I played junior varsity basketball, went worth the powder to take the shooting. And Jimmy Parkins came in as coach. And Jimmy asked Steve Guthrie and me if we would be managers of the basketball team and the baseball team. And we were. And really enjoyed it. It's good memories of that with Curtis and Braxton and all that gang. So, sports has been a big part of my life.
Randy, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got started playing golf?
My first recollection was probably with Snowball Gaskell. Most of you know Snowball. He coached a Little League, Harkers Island back in the day. And I'm not quite as old as these guys, but I did play with his
seeing, I heard a politician the other day say something about it takes a community to raise a child. Well, we live that because actually this community raised all of us. We would get up in the morning and go outdoors and play ball all day long, no parents to bother us, go back for lunch. Then it gets really, by the way, people talk about how hot it is now. It's always been hot over here. And we would go down on Aldo's dock. I don't know why none of us ever wore underwear, but we didn't. Take our pants off, and that's the nicest air conditioner you can ever find. Cools you right off. We crawl back on the dock, pick up our gloves or whatever season it was, we go play ball. I set the island on fire just about every year, burning the baseball diamond off. And we didn't have parents that were involved. Now, I hear a lot today, and we have an ex-coach or whatever, I hear a lot today about parents being involved in their kids. That's a two-edged sword. Because we grew up without parents' involvement, so we didn't have to meet the expectations of our parents. We went on the field, played for the fun of it. We weren't playing for status. No one talked about college, or now if you're any good in the 5th grade, they start talking about college. We didn't have any of that stuff. What we had was a desire to play. We went out and played, and the athletic pecking order thinned out everyone. If you weren't athletic by the time you got to be in the 7th or 8th grade, you dropped out, and the rest of us who were a little more athletic, we kept on. But you know, it was just fun. It wasn't this idea, I've got to win. And, yeah, we wanted to win. We played hard, but it was went all over. And Joe Boy Hughes probably started the fight, and Dale Lewis was one that I grew up with. Every team has that type of player. And we played all day long. Every season we would pick up the next glove or the ball we played. We didn't specialize. But you know what we had? We had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun. And I think is that Houston? Houston. The best, the greatest potential baseball player I had ever seen in this area, and I've been around a long time, was Jamie Lewis. Speed, power, ability, he had everything but the desire. And we would go to get Jamie to play baseball on Sunday, and you had to get him out of a boat, drag him on a boat. I never could understand that. But once you got him out there, he'd hit a home run or two, and then he'd go back and get his boat and leave. Great baseball player, but it was fun. It was just fun being part of a little community like this. Regardless of where you were, if you did something wrong, your mother knew about it before dark. Yeah. And Snowball Gasco was the one that they got. When I was a little young, I think it was a typewriter league, Snowball would get me to go with them, not because I was any good, I was only about 14 or 15, but in case somebody didn't show up, they'd have enough to play. Now, Mom was a very religious person. And by the way, she was one of the few religious people up here that would allow her son to play that ball. But that's on Sunday, so Sunday. And Snowball would talk her in to
available. First one we had was back at James Starnes' house. And then later on, for some reason or other, they wouldn't let us use that no more. They were building houses around it. And the next one was up there where, coming into Davis over on the left there, where Kitty and, what was Kitty's husband's name? Anyway, and they're in that marsh out there. We went up there and cleared out a place up there and burned it off like you see every year. And that was our baseball fields. One of our favorite things to do is, down these kids, water. I mean, everything along the shore. Afternoons, you go down to fish houses and hang around, see the boats coming in, going out. We played corkball. Somebody always had an old net there, they had thrown away, and we'd take a knife and go down and there's corks. They're about that big, playing a perfect ball. And the gang goes, you'd cut somebody's net in and get 3 or 4 or 5 corks. Some of them could hit it and bust them all to pieces. But that was a lot of fun. I remember playing corkball more than once. But I want to mention something that Kurt mentioned about Ted and Todd played Little League Baseball. And Chuck was coaching the team, but unfortunately our boys weren't on his team. But I saw something in Little League Baseball that kind of really turned me against parents. He's talking about parents that never come. Thinking back now, that was a good thing. I have seen more parents ruin kids and coaches tell them, well, why didn't you play my kid, my kid, my kid? Chuck Lewis, I admire him, as I've said before, still coaching until recently, all these years, and I saw him take some abuse over the years. I don't know how he did it, but that's a tough job. It really is. And I respect any man. I don't care who it is or if it's a woman. To take these kids and work with them and coach, it's an ordeal. It really is.
So, well, I'll start off the next, thing.
How many questions do you have?
Well, not too many more, or you're actually covering most of them. But, so, I'd like to know, if it was likely, I'm thinking in school, but, did you play organized school ball? And if so, who were your coaches? And, what about that team do you remember the most?
But like I said earlier, I played in ninth grade, and that was it. The coach,
Played at Smyrna?
yeah, the coach was a fellow from Southport. I don't know how he wound up here. Sanders. Yeah, he was the coach. And thank God he went back to Southport after that year. And then, like I said earlier,
Did he also coach basketball? Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
he let go Will Bates.
My mother said he was the worst coach ever, but yeah, her basketball team won the championship.
Yeah,
I was like,
we ranked in last place in the county and won the second tournament when we were the champions, and we did despite him.
Smyrna's always had an outstanding women basketball team, right on through the years, always. Yeah. And then Jimmy Parkins came in 10th grade when we were in 10th grade.
now, did Jimmy Parkins coach at Smyrna?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And he was a good coach, and everybody loved Jimmy Parkins. He really was. He kind of turned our program around down there, made the players wear suits, and everybody had matching suits and all that sort of stuff, and come in together and all that. I'll tell you, he classed us up.
So all of you played at Smyrna? Is that what I'm hearing?
No.
No, I was gonna say you were
No,
at East Star.
first year I went to East Garden.
Yeah.
He's just a child.
I told you I wasn't older than these guys.
So, okay, so Randy, tell us a little bit about who was your coach at East Garden?
John Hamilton was the coach when I was out there, and I played with Paul Downing, which I thought was going to be here tonight. Manley Gaskell, Dallas Wayne, Joe Hancock, 93, and then the second game, 7th, 8th inning, they wanted to see him, so Wilson left him in the game on time, he's still there.
Well, I came along and I started high school in '87, and Sanders was there that year, and we were all freshmen. Everybody had quit by that time, but the athletes that were playing, and once I did anything backwards, so it left us all freshmen. And I'll never forget when we first started playing, we started shooting jump shots, and he said, no, you can't shoot any jump shots. Why not? He said, you can't follow the shot up, so we couldn't shoot the jump shots in ninth grade. And Dim Parkins came along, and he really did change a lot of things in Smyrna. We had some good players, and he was a lot of fun to play for. He was young, too. I guess he was, what, 22, 23, just after the survey? He was just like one of us. I mean, and I can remember he played golf. And he would get back in front of the school, and we would get out on the baseball field with our gloves, and he'd hit golf balls. And we'd run them down. You talk about something hurting in a golf, in a baseball, in a golf ball. But he was just like the rest of us. He was immature, but he did a tremendous job. He didn't see him good as small.
Well, let me ask you this, what game do you remember of all the games you played? It doesn't have to necessarily be baseball, but of any game you've ever played, what is the one that you remember the most and why has it made such an impression?
Well, I played a lot of ball when I played, after I got out of school, but it wasn't a game that I remember. How many of you know what a duck walk is? You ever read, now ladies probably didn't know how to do duck walks. You know what duck walk is. Well, I was the duck walk champion. Never lost a duck walk. And I remember one time in my senior year, they talk about some things that stick in your mind. I remember A.C. Davis. He looked like a duck. I mean, he was just about the same size as a duck. And he was beating me. And I'll never forget it. He made us run all the way around the gym. And I had never lost a duck walk. And I said, you got one or two things here. You can either quit
signed a contract, I believe with Boston Red Sox, wasn't he? He signed a contract with somebody, played minor league ball for a while, and quit. You know why? He missed Davy Shore.
It seems to be an epidemic. People who go off to start off.
He said he just couldn't do that. He had to get back to Davy Shore. Elvin was a good baseball player. There was a lot of good ball players back then. Lester Babbitt and Mr. Burgesstarn. I mean, I could go on. And one he mentioned was John Hamilton from Atlanta. But they were a good team.
Was ever recruited by a professional team?
I think he was, but I don't.
Played college ball.
I don't know.
He played pretty well. I think it made,
Dallas Wayne has come back.
Dallas women off about homesick.
Yeah,
Who come to Carter County and quit a minor league. They was
same,
back.
same thing.
Yeah.
I tell you, it's powerful stuff down here in this salt water. It's hard to leave it.
Yeah.
Paul Dameron.
Paul Dameron,
Yeah.
he got in a car accident. When he
Yeah,
got down
very
there.
serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dallas got homesick.
Yeah, that was what we got into. Okay, so Gary, we've only got a couple more left here, but they're important ones, I think. What did you learn, either from playing ball or going to games? What has stuck with you, about that sports may have taught you in some way?
Work hard and never give up.
Did you have anybody that sort of instilled that sort of ethic?
You talking about athletic or outside of it?
And well, in athletics, but
I
it
could,
could be in a player or a coach or anything.
I could name dozens of men
But who's the tip top one?
my father, absolutely.
There you go.
Yeah, yeah.
Didn't know, was he a coach?
No, he had no more interest in athletics than I would flying a jet plane.
Yeah, he was too busy running business.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
None whatsoever. I don't think he ever attended a ball game. I never remember him even going to a ball game.
Randy, same question.
Yeah, I agree with what he said, working hard. A lot of that is still to me when I got drafted in the military. They didn't give me no choice but to do that, but, I agree, it's the same thing. Just work hard and don't give up.
What about you, Mr. Kirby?
When I went to Smyrna, that was my first exposure, and this is hard to believe, my first exposure to life other than Harvard. And it was a different world over there. Those people actually spoke a language that I didn't understand. So, I don't think they understood me either, by the way. But what I learned of the advantages of sports, I lost my wife 13 months ago from Alzheimer's, and we were married for 52 years, and I often look at her, and she was one of the prettiest girls in the class, and the second smartest. And I would usually tell her when we would sit there and talking, I said, Linda, if I hadn't been a basketball star, you would never look at me. No, I said, no, but it's true. I mean, that is where some of us find our identity. It was in sports. And so sports has been good to me with my kids, and it's just a wonderful way to communicate with your children and have something in common. It's been my life, and I didn't come from an athletic family at all.
But your boys are athletic.
Yeah, they were pretty
They're
good.
very good athletes.
They can't make me play golf though.
That's an old man's game.
That's true.
Well, we've got one more question, and we'll just we'll start with Mr. Kirk and wind it back over here. If you could live life all over again, you know,
in basketball season, we got to the old schoolhouse, and somebody had made picnic tables, long picnic tables, you know what I'm talking about. And they were long enough that we could take that table and stand it up against the stage. We had a basketball goal on, and stand it up against the stage, and that was our basketball court, the old schoolhouse there in Davis, for many years. But probably my most outstanding memory, as I've said earlier, was our trip to Raleigh to the Coliseum there. I tell you, y'all just can't imagine what that was to a bunch of youngins like we were. Most of us probably never been past Hebron to wind up in Raleigh and you know, in college, down in college. Oh man, thought we were it.
And I'll have the last word. I would like to be in the 6th grade one more time, standing in the outfield, chasing fly balls for the Eastern Blues. If I had to do it over again, I'd love to be able to do that again. So that concludes our first community night. I really want to thank all of y'all for coming. I want to thank our 3 accidental panelists up here. They've done a wonderful job. Thank you.